Right, now is the waiting time. A fairly limited view of what I can see out so far, and depending how the pigeons come as to whether I need to or can afford to open it up if they're not seeing me, and then I could. Otherwise I might have to leave, but I can cover most of the pigeons, the decoys here, so it's only if they come wide I might not be able to. So we'll have to see. And they're going to either produce, I think, straightforward shots. If they decoy and come as if they're going to land with these others, they'll be fairly straightforward. If they're crossing or going wide, then they make wide crossing shots. So we'll just have to wait and see. There might be some of each. But anyway, this is where just patience is the answer. Now I'm sitting on a seat, it's a swivel seat, and the great thing about a swivel seat, or you can just slide about on your bum otherwise, is that if you're standing to shoot, then you would move your feet and your knees and your hips and your shoulders would all be related to make a shot. Now if you're sitting, you can't do that. You can't move your feet, your knees or your hips. So what you can do is you can compensate for that by getting your feet, in theory, in the position they'd be if you were going to stand, swivel round to be accordingly. So if I'm going to have a shot on my left, I'm going to swing round here. If I've got a shot I think is going to be to my right, I'll swing round here. So I'm actually nearly as if I'm on my feet, and that helps a lot. But it is comfortable sitting down, obviously for fatigue for one thing, but in this case obviously we've got a cramped hide, so you can't make a standing up hide out in the middle of a field. Perhaps today I would have liked to found if we could find a nice shady place to be in a hedgerow or under trees, but it wasn't like that. The pigeons wanted, when I watched them for the last 2 days, they wanted the middle of the field here, either sitting on the rape stubble or sitting on the plough. So we'll hope that's going to happen today. Now the cartridge I use, a game bore 28 grams 7.5s, and a lot of people might consider that a bit namby-pamby for pigeons, but I found that actually the 7.5s, although it's small, what you do get is a very dense pattern, and for birds that are further out you might lack a slight punch, but what you have got is you've got a lot of pellets in the pattern, and I find that produces more clean kills. Hang on, there's one. Is he going to come? No, he's got to cross round. Oh, he might come round. He might come round. Well, he's come round and landed over there. Well, he wasn't disturbed anyway. He wasn't disturbed by the decoys or the hide, so that's good news. Bad news, he didn't actually flop into the decoys. Yes, so those cartridges I find, I've used them for a long time now, and they're the standard game bore clay pigeon club cartridge, which they're on the machine 24/7. So they're a good cartridge, and actually, frankly, cartridge manufacturers these days can't afford to make a bad cartridge, because clay pigeon competition shooting has ensured that everybody has to produce a good cartridge. So anyway, I find these are good for pigeon. I think when it comes to steel shot, which we're going to have to use in another year or so, I mean, I've been using steel to try them out because I sell some of the pigeons to people who fly hawks, and hawks can't have a lead shot pigeon because the lead shot is poisonous to them. And I've tried steel, and actually I've used the same cartridge in steel, a 28 grams 7.5, and I've been pleasantly surprised how effective they were. And whilst you limit your range for the first few shots, and the next thing you forget that you're using steel, and you carry on regardless, and I've found that they've been working very well. So that is a standard steel load by game bore. Well, that was very cooperative. Well, that was a perfect decoyed pigeon, making a very straightforward shot. And if they all came like that, you know, you'd make a bag and you shouldn't miss. We all do miss, and what's more, there is no such thing as an easy pigeon until you've killed it, in my view, because we all know how easy it is to miss easy pigeons. But that was very straightforward. I mean, if they're coming with pigeons on the whole, I shoot with decoying, I average about 80%, so that's actually 20 out of a box of 25. If they're difficult, wide crossing, doing anything something trickle, then it obviously drops a bit. If they're decoying like that, then I would quite often go up to 90%. But we're still always going to miss some, and particularly it might be the second bird. If there were two there and the second bird is getting out a bit wide, you know, then you've missed one. There's a pigeon out there and he's landed out in the open plough, so we want more to come like that, the last one that did come. You might wonder why we've left the vehicles in the sites we have. That was just because of reconnaissance yesterday, where pigeons were wanting to land nearer the track and near those telegraph poles, and some of them were dropping into the stubble, of the wheat stubble the other side. And so they were tending to drift and focus on the area where the vehicles are. So I thought, well, with this wind today, and pigeons will tend to fly upwind if they're not disturbed, but just in their natural pattern of flight. So on that basis, with a steady breeze from the west here today, by leaving the vehicles there, I'm hoping it won't spook the pigeons. It'll stop them landing there, but I hope it won't stop them actually flying up the line here and decoying to us. And that last one was a case in point. The pigeon came on perfectly happily, in spite of the fact of two vans parked there. Now, to test that yesterday in my reconnaissance, and I often do this, if I'm trying to keep pigeons off a certain area, I'll often go and park my car in that area, just watch from there and see, is it having the desired effect of moving them from one place to where you want them in another place. On the day shooting, I might use a vehicle there, or I might put flags there, but one way or another, the strategy of trying to cover a larger area of ground by using flags or vehicles to move them is a good ploy. Otherwise, you could very often limit yourself by just being in one place, in one small little area on a very big acreage of fields. And in this part of East Anglia, we've got big fields.
Well, what would your perfect day pigeon shooting look like?
My perfect day, I think, would start probably nearly a week before, when I suspected a field of pigeons was becoming interesting to a pigeon. I was able to watch it for 2 or 3 days, and over those 2 or 3 days the pigeon numbers were building up. My understanding of where they wanted to field, where they came from, so that by the time the day dawned, I actually had done a lot of thought overnight, and often I sleep, awake at night, planning the plan. So it's the military operation of it. So the day dawns, and yes, you go out, and I would hope to get there before the pigeons would start to come and feed. I mean, there might be a few there, but the main feeding time. Pigeons usually have about 5 hours in the day of main feeding time. It can vary, but it's principally going to be within 5 hours. And you want to be there, ideally, for those 5 hours to optimise the bag. If you come and they've been feeding for 3 hours, you've only got 2 hours. Well, that is another way that your bag is going to be diminished. Or if you've got to go home after 2 hours and you've missed the 3 hours, the bag is going to be. So the perfect day is you're able to put the full time in. The weather is as you hoped it's going to be, with a breeze from the direction you want for where you hope to have the hide, or otherwise you have your hide in a different place. And then you start, and a few pigeons drift in, and you enjoy it, and you get your eye in, and you shoot a few, and the day develops, and you hopefully shoot. Well, it's not about the big bag; it's the sort of bag that you had envisaged in your reconnaissance. so that, you know, your field cast reconnaissance is proving right. But having said that, the number of perfect days can dwindle very fast. With any number of things we've spoken about, can evaporate a good day into a poor day.
And which are the moments on those days that you particularly savour?
Well, I suppose what's called orgasmic moments of that day will be the odd pigeon that appears at an angle or a height or a speed that is really challenging, and you say to yourself, you know, it's almost a question, well, is it shootable? And if you say, I mean, I don't tend to just shoot for the sake of shooting. I would hope to find that it is shootable, but often there's this on the balance of limit of range or speed or whatever that you can cope with. And if you then do bring off a sensational shot, that is very satisfying and thrilling, and which nobody else can know that. Nobody's there to see it, just you, and it's a personal thing. Come on, drop down. I've hit you hard, my man. Yes, there's dead. So that bird came in wide to my right and actually landed. And I shot it sitting, which you might say is rather unsporting, but my attitude to that was really the same as my dear old mentor Archie. A dead pigeon for a farmer is a dead pigeon's not going to eat anything. And, you know, so you say, well, that's one for the farmer. You wouldn't put it down in your great sporting log of history, but you know, you're here for duty to shoot pigeons, and if it didn't come close enough to get a flying shot at it, then I'm perfectly happy to take it sitting on the ground and do the job for the farmer.
Thank you for watching this short clip of one of our films. If you enjoyed it, there is plenty more. Head over to fieldfoodandcountry.co.uk and become a member today.